to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Randy Rentz.
Here.
Bo Barton.
Here.
Belinda Ballard. Here. Mary Glass.
Here.
Maria Bass. Here. Gary Castles.
Here.
Johnny Fallon. Here.
The executive committee report. Johnny, if you'll go over that.
Well, we are down 28% still, but we're missing 2 payments from the motor vehicles, and that's about $80,000.
And all the checks were good, everything.
Yeah, everything's good, checked out.
All right, we need to approve the minutes from the last board meeting. Oh, and special meeting that was held on February 28th.
I make a motion that we approve the board meeting and the special meeting.
I second.
All in favor?
Uh,
Now, employee of the month. We are recognizing Jermaine Thompson as our March employee of the month.
It's me.
And there he is
Yes.
on the screen.
Oh,
So Jermaine's at our high school, but all the high school administrators are at sports events, so I told Alana that I would read what they put, okay?
And Jermaine is at a track meet that was rescheduled for tonight.
Yes, so this is from Alana. I'm sorry I could not be there today and say great things about Jermaine. We are all at track and sporting events. I would like to reiterate how much we love Coach Jermaine at CPHS. He is always looking out for the best interest of the school and the students. He is always able to step in and give a helping hand no matter what is going on. Thank you very much, Coach Jermaine, for everything you do. And 2 more comments that were submitted to us to be read are, Jermaine is a wonderful addition to our CPHS family. He has positive relationships with the students and makes an impact on everyone at CPHS. He is encouraging and always has a wonderful attitude. CPHS is so blessed to have him. He keeps our school moving in the right direction. And another person wrote, he monitors halls. He has a fantastic relationship with students, staff, and everyone in our building. So, congratulations, Jermaine. He will get his award tomorrow.
He's not much on the spotlight. I don't even know if he was at a track meet, I could have gotten him to come. So he's a good guy. Good guy.
The next group we have here, we have an outstanding group of young students here with our robotics team that has done a wonderful job this year, and just can't praise them enough for what they've done. They placed second out of 600 schools, right? Or 600 other teams.
60.
I'm sorry, 60.
Yeah.
Well, 600
That
sounds a lot.
was
Out of 60, they placed second out of 60, and are on their way to nationals, right?
Yes, we just found out today we're going to the Florida Sunshine Invitational in Daytona in June.
good deal.
That's awesome.
And it will have, it's not only kids from other states, but from other countries too. Like they'll have, one of the invitationals has people from Denmark, Norway, North Korea, Japan, all that. So it'll be a 3-day wonderful experience for us.
In their second year. Yes.
Which I placed last year too, right?
Yeah, last year we won overall champion at regionals, and then we won the Engineering Excellence Award at state.
Congratulations, guys.
Yes, absolutely.
So first is judged equally on 4 different categories. They have their innovation project that they have to create. This year's theme was submerged, so it was all about underwater, which is why they used, we used AI to generate our underwater Spartan. And then they have their robot design, where they have to present all of their decision making, their mission strategy. Then they have the actual games, which is where they compete with the robot to interact with the different Lego pieces. And then the final piece is their core values. So it's how they treat each other as a team, their work ethic, how they represent their community and all that stuff. And so all of those 4 things are averaged together to give them their final score. You want me to So this was their innovation project. The question they were supposed to research was, what is a solution to help us explore the oceans? And so you want to tell them about what you came up with?
So, at first we were thinking about doing plastic pollution, we did all the research, we were planning what we were going to do, and then we realized there were already way too many solutions out there, and most of them were hard to improve on because of how they were working and that kind of stuff. So we decided to move on to a different thing, and we were thinking about what we all love and what we would think is interesting to research. So we decided to think about how can we explore the ocean farther, because we know not much about the ocean. So we were thinking, how can we get deeper into the ocean? How can we study organisms? Then we came across Orca, which is the company that has the INC. INC is their robot. It goes to about, I think it's at 30,000 feet. Probably, I think a little bit more. It has lots of other features, like it's highly sensitive camera. It can detect bioluminescence underwater, so it will start to take photographs and videos of creatures they detect. We saw the problem is it's stationary, so when a creature gets out of its sight, it no longer can video and record it, so it no longer sends any data to the scientists. So we were thinking about something that can move, that's smaller, so we can get to smaller areas to figure out like habitats for the creatures. And so we came up with the idea of something like a jellyfish. So, because a creature coming out and trying to just do its thing, kind of scary for a giant box to come at it. So we were thinking a creature that can move swiftly through the water without disturbing anything. So we were thinking jellyfish. We have different inspirations, the jennyfish, hasselfish, and then the aqua jelly. Each of them helped us. We liked the way the hasselfish, the way it was moving, because it would create a way it could just swim around easily. And then with the aquafish, it created like a kind of a vortex, so it could just move quicker. And then
That was our umbrella idea.
that was our umbrella idea. And then we came across the Atolla jellyfish. So the Atolla jellyfish, it has a natural red hue that allows it to
It allows it
it allows it to hide from predators. And that's where we came up with this design. It allows us to hide from our predators, but it can still see like organisms. And it also has a blue light, which tracks other creatures, so we can get videos of them. Just footage. The way it has Lazy Susan for the 3D camera, which is inside the area where the jellyfish, typically it's called like a bell of the jellyfish. So when it's swimming, it kind of looks like this. So when it's swimming, it just moves swiftly, and then it just attracts the creatures. So the video, it'll take its video, depending on which creature's around. Like if there's a dangerous creature, it might want to hide.
So they have to share their innovation project with others and receive feedback. So on a whim, NOAA had an email address, and so I was like, let's try. So I sent out an email, the kids filmed a video explaining their first innovation, and we were like, we would love for you to take a look at it. And so they actually got feedback from Dr. Edie Wilder herself, who is the inventor of the Orca's Eye in the Sea. So that's the email that she actually sent to the kids. We also reached out to a friend of my husband's who is an ROV supervisor. He does remote control robots in the Gulf of Mexico, and he was also super impressed with kids. And then these were all their different iterations. The process, one of the things we loved about this is this was also a collaborative effort with our 3D modeling kids. We have a 3D modeling class at the junior high, so we were able to kind of send our designs to them, and then they worked on getting it all like cut and fit and everything and printed it, so we were able to impact not just our robotics team, but also the 3D modeling class on this. So. All right, Lane, and you want to talk about the robot design? Partition code. Maybe bring those attachments up a little. So this was the robot they ended up deciding on. Why'd you like it, Lane?
The capability and it was very power, and we could get the mission done.
So they actually, this year we tried to grow them a little bit further and give them a more like accountability. So they had to rank all of their missions, decide on the difficulty level, which we did last year, but this year we wanted to put it in a print concrete format, and the judges absolutely loved that. So this was their mission strategy. They had to decide if they were going to attempt it, why they would attempt it. They took notes on it. In the end, we also did testing data. So as they did their runs, they had to make note of like, what are you changing? Each adjustment, they had to make note along the way. You want to talk about your runs?
So our first run collects coral, krill, and water sample and returns. Flips the bed and returns back home. The second run, we raise the mass, collect the treasure, and send the anglerfish into this cave, which is this attachment, this fork. Our third run delivers the shark and collects the trident and delivers the robot to the other side of the map, which we use this attachment. So our fourth run, we just push the coral that we got from that side of the map over on the map, because each coral that stands is 2 points. And our fifth run, which is the last one, we release the unknown creature from its habitat, spin the sonar, and park our robot in the deep sea. So, our attachment's like this, pushes the thing, or not pushes the thing forward, this pushes the thing forward and it makes the robot, makes the mass move down, and then use this to drive back and flip it forward.
So their skill level definitely has improved from last year to this year. We had four returning members, and then the rest of the team was new. And so last year they did a lot of like one-arm attachments, and so we did a bunch of deep dive into YouTube and Next Level Teacher, and so this year I challenged them to construct attachments that would handle more than one thing at a time to increase that point gain. Last year I think our highest point score was like 165. It was something like that. This year, their top score was 285. So this, and this is a picture of their code that they do. So this is the video that we have to submit to the state. This is their run.
2, 1, Lego.
I gotta turn myself off because you can hear me in the video. And I'll turn it back on when they talk. So that was their first attachment. It had to push the coral buds, get the shark. They get 6 precision tokens, and so if they keep all 6, that's 60 points. But anytime they touch the robot outside of the mat, they would lose a precision token. So like you have to make sure you code it to come all the way home. You want to tell them what that's supposed to do?
It's supposed to push the boat forward, pull it back, and then raise it. And the attachment.
this.
And then this launch, it didn't work, so that's Lane relaunching it. They have 2 minutes and 30 seconds to do it. So once the timer's done, you can. So he relaunched it, and that ended up working. Then they're about to launch the Shark.
And this is done with Legos.
Yes, this is all Lego pieces, and that's a Lego Spike Prime. So it's block-based coding, scratch coding that they work with. It does have the ability to do Python, JavaScript, but we haven't gotten there yet. That we were super excited about because, you want to tell them about the Trident and why it's hard?
Well, the trident is like the thing, you have to like kind of lift it up to get it out.
And the pieces really weren't like completely stuck together. They're just like fairly contained.
So we got that for the trident.
Yes, it's not connected, it just rests in the Lego hole, and so they were able to flink both out. And then you get to see Andrew super excited right here.
You can tell when you just.
Yeah, I don't really want to go through here. Because that never happened. We usually got one, but we never got two. And so then the
They
kids go
had
over.
17 seconds left on the clock, and we are done. All right, team, go over what you got.
Got the guns up, so we have this flipped up in standings. The anglerfish is back in his cage. The shark is out, and the shark is actually in his zone over there, pretty much fully in his zone. Both pieces of the trident is out. No one's over there.
It flung it. One went one way and one flew on the whole other side of the
We
map.
didn't get the water sample in the grill that was on this side.
We got most of the whole thing standing. We got the creature, and we got first the red, and then we got
And we think we lost just one precision token because they reached out to touch the robot just once. Yay!
Max score on the mat is 620. They did have one of the finalists. They got 400. They're a team of 4th and 5th graders from Prairieville. They're really good. I actually got to judge them when I judged the competition in Baton Rouge. So it's amazing what these kids can do. So we're going to buckle down and try to get our score higher. But that was actually one of the things the judges was impressed about, was how many times they changed and iterated not only their innovation project, but their robot design, and I figured out what it was.
What was it?
Sunken cost fallacy is what the engineer told us. I don't know, but I had to look it up because it was really good. But he praised them because they would test and they would abandon it. Like if they would spend X amount of time on it and it wasn't working, they were all okay with scratching it and moving on, so we didn't get stuck on one thing. Not only did we do FLL this year, but we also did Sea Perch, which is exciting. I have it connected if you want to show it. So this was an underwater robot competition. It was an ROV. And so I forget how many schools competed. This was at Louisiana Tech. And when we went to Tech, that was the first time this robot had ever even gone in the water. So we were fingers crossed that it would actually work. And they never drove any of the obstacle courses because we didn't have anywhere to practice or what it looked. So them putting in the pool was their very first time. And they ended up winning the Spirit of Sea Perch Award, which has just been, they had positive attitude, team spirit, they embodied all the celebrations of Sea Perch. So this is something they want to continue next year, as well as when they go to the high school, because high schoolers can compete, so they want to compete. You can show how it operates.
So this is its battery. You have to connect the wires to it so it'll connect. And you have to make it completely out of like PVC pipes and some soda. Yeah, foam. And this is how it goes like that. And then if you look at it, not very good at going straight. It likes to go. And then this is how you can make it go. It's the same. It's the same motor right here, but depending on which one you click, the motor will spin a different way. It can go up and then go back down.
So one of the obstacle course they had to go through was those rings, and so they had to go, the rings were up, but then they were also flat. So they had to sink down, drive through, sink down, drive through. And what's tricky about the cord? You don't remember? Oh, you didn't drive it, you drove it for fun. Or the ones that actually competed in it are all in track. You have to get the cord back the same way it came through or it's gonna get tangled. So that was a whole new challenge. And so 2 of the kids competed in that. That was Zane Mercer and Drake Fitzgerald. And then Bentley Carroll and Paisley Dunn did the obstacle course. And you had to like lift things and get almost like the little pool rings, pick those up, drop those off. And it was all within like a 10-minute time frame. And that was out of 100 points. And they scored 30 out of 100 on their first time ever touching it, driving it, putting it in the water. So these are really impressive kids with a lot of talent. Because we didn't do the...
They wanted us to do like 100, I call it 100 paragraph essay for describing this.
It's their engineering thought process, which we will tackle next year, but the plan was to finish with state and then focus on C-Perch, but then state got snowed out, and so we had time to do state virtually, so we focused more on the FLL state, and they all decided, we'll just do this one for fun. We've never been before, we'll just go have fun, and so that's where that one is. And they had to cut the PVC pipe, they had to drill all of the holes. The only thing we didn't let them do was the soldering with the metal thing, but yeah, they have to put the whole entire kit together and experience all of that. Lane and Zane loved it. Right, you like the underwater robot. My husband wants me to bring it home so it can go fetch ducks. Endless things you can do with the underwater robot. Zane wants to put, a GoPro on it to look for fish in Davis Lake. We want to sink it in Davis Lake.
Best part about making it was Drake had the drill and he had clicked it and it kept going and he went, it won't stop, it won't stop. And Miss Wano goes, what are you doing?
Yeah, he didn't realize there was an automatic switch on the drill. There was no accidents, no one was injured, everything was fine. For now.
This is impressive.
That's very impressive.
Very, yeah,
Super impressive.
blows my mind.
You lost me right.
Yeah, everything that y'all say and do and what you're able to accomplish and think through there is just exciting. Yeah.
I would have had to put in a bathtub to see how it works.
Well, we're going to look at maybe one of the schools, Sterlington, competes in this, and their coach, he ordered like a 2-foot deep pool, so we might look into getting some of those and building our own little PVC obstacle course, because there was one school that managed to get it through all the hoops and back in like 1 minute and 30 seconds. Zane got it back in like he took 7 minutes, which was amazing, because it was his first time ever driving it, and so one student has to operate it while the other student feeds the cord, and you have to make sure you pull the slack in and feed the slack out, and so both of the drivers. And for these, we can actually compete more kids. We only built 1, but they can build like up to 4, so that we can have more students participating. So that'll be good. And the high school is also doing their games. We're just doing an in-class competition, but if y'all ever want to stop by at the high school around 6th hour, they've got their big metal robots built, and theirs is dual control. They have 2, like a PlayStation-looking controller, and they built everything and are operating that. So even when they finish with us, they can go there and still learn.
That's great. Thank y'all so much for coming. Very impressive.
Congratulations.
So if you have any ideas for donations, send us support.
Miss Marnie's going to get a picture of y'all all together.
Oh,
yeah.
I gather some money.
Yeah.
Hold up, bro.
Well, Nick, if they need money, what funds are available from the board that we can give them? Because I'm a little disappointed that normally we have this at the school so the parents and everybody else can come. Because what I'm expecting is that this Facebook page, there's a write-up on it.
Yes.
Every teacher that have them share it, because these are the type things that these kids need to have exposure to, because there are people out there that will actually, invest in them and do stuff like that. So if there's money that you need.
Let's do a campaign.
And we have a booth set up for I think it's called the Spring Market or Spring with the Art Show. The 3D Modeling Club designed all of the different Spartan themes. The kids built earrings, crop charms, all kind of stuff. And then Robotics is making bracelets, and they are building it out of binary code. So the ones and zeros that go into a computer will be Spartan, red, white, and blue. So they're busy making bracelets and earrings to sell at the fair.
What I'm saying is, we are here to invest in kids. So if you guys need some money, and there's money that we have available, you guys should get it. If anybody should get it, you guys should get it.
She's not gonna. She's not
Well,
gonna take.
I have a question. Where do you get your money to do this?
So some of our investment comes from Hatch and biofuels. And then the banks have contributed funds. We've had sponsorships from like Hippie Chicks donated, because when we found out that we were going to state, we had a bunch of people donate funds.
So the community's kind of involved in all of it.
Well, what I'm saying is, we give the 4-H, I think we need to give you guys something. So I don't know who's on the finance committee, but if you guys can look into that, whatever you guys need, I think you deserve it.
Good. And Invitationals is different than state. It's a 3-day event. Like I said, they'll be interacting with kids from different states and different countries, and they get to, again, present their stuff and compete in robot games, but they have other stuff. One of the things they get to do is called the Robot Alliance, which is where they're going to have to interact with another team and come up with a strategic plan to where you saw how in ours you had a launch on both sides, and those were all of our kids. Now you're going to have one robot like ours launch only on the left while the other team launches on the right. So they're going to have to strategize and combine to try to make those points. So it'll be interesting for them to interact with other schools and other, future engineers.
How many schools actually go to national?
I think it's like over 100 or going to this invitational. There's 3 of them. There's the first Lego League Worlds is in Houston. That's what the grand champion is going to. And then they had Massachusetts and Florida is what we picked.
So you guys were second out of 60, right?
Yeah, we haven't gotten our scores and our judges' feedback yet, but when we did the virtual Zoom meeting, they were super impressed with their digital presentation. Like Aubrey and Andrew were responsible for helping me put together that Canva presentation. That's one of the things I love. Like Andrew is an excellent artist. He is phenomenal at art. He's he draws better than anybody I've ever met. So he has a really good eye at that. So we were able to funnel his energy into creating that presentation and doing everything. I wish Bentley could have been here, because Bentley is excellent at doing presentations. That kid he can fly out by the seat of his pants. One of the judges asked in the virtual session, have you thought about what would happen if your tiny jellyfish gets swallowed? And all of the kids kind of froze, and then Bentley goes, well, I guess we'll get to see what the inside of a fish looks like with the camera. And the judges loved that. So in Austin is phenomenal. He wrote a lot of their speeches that they practice, because he's really good with words. And so they all find these different pockets that they're really good at. Lane and Zane love building the Lego bits, so that was their course. And so they didn't really want to be a part of the innovation project, but they would always come back and forth and give feedback to everything. So there's something for everybody in the robotics. So we're going to look at launching our 6th grader club when we come back from spring break. I had to kind of push it back, because state kept getting pushed back, and so I didn't want to mess up anything with, that robot and that table. So there's always something for every kid in it.
So Kaylee, can you make sure that the paper get a photo of all those individuals with whatever appropriate write-up that's necessary for them to be, recognized? And I guess we'll offer a unanimous resolution commending you guys for, the great job that you have. And be looking for some money.
Now on to junior basketball.
All right.
All right, that brings us to the literacy update. Ms. Guerrero.
Well, I won't get
get started, y'all always hear about us talk about our inventionists. I want to introduce them to you. We were talking this morning, going over the presentation, and Ms. McCann had the idea, why don't we invite them? So I appreciate these ladies rearranging their schedules to come. So I will start with Ms. Janae Clark. She is the Grayson Elementary Interventionist for K1. Then we have Kelly McElwain. She's second and third at Columbia. Then we have Miss Ainsworth, fourth and fifth at Union Central. And then Denise is at the junior high. Because you've always asked, how do we work it up to the junior high? And that's what we do. This year's our first year in high school, and that's Miss Fisher with our T9 ninth grade. So those are the ladies that work so hard along with the teachers. And they were all complete. That's wonderful. Of course, the principals are there. Yes, sir.
Those are my classmates.
Oh, you're older than us.
I could not get Janae to talking school. Kimberly and Sandra were always smart. But I'm glad to see Kimberly at the high school because I think she has done a wonderful job. I've actually visited with her and talked to her about it. So whatever we need to do to keep that going on with regards to funding, I don't know how they pay, but it's something.
Grant through a grant right now. So you're going to see what's happened from the beginning of the year to the middle of the year, and they're here to answer any questions or something that can contribute to what they do, they actually do with the children. The first slide you're going to see, and you also have the handout at the last page in your folder that'll go along with it. So this is our story. You know, we have all this data. We have to sort what do we need to do. We have to arrange the kids into groups to see what their best need is. And then we finally present it and put that instruction in front of them. And we start building and learning from that data. And so the next page, you're going to actually see what's happened from the beginning of the year. You're going to see 2 years. So if I look at pre-K, and I wish Miss Whitten was here, she had to go to a game, but she could explain hers, but Miss Coates is here. So they have shown growth. At the beginning of the year, they were at 15% of phonemic awareness. That is a very foundational skill that the kindergarten K1 will tell you how important that is for kids to hear sounds. They were at 52, now they're at, 15, they're now at 52. That's a 37% gain from the beginning of the year to the middle of the year. And they do interventions as well with their students, so they work hard with them. The end of the year goal, where they were last year, was 82, so that's where their goal is now to get there by the end of the year. Their alphabet knowledge, which is our letter naming in kindergarten and first grade, so they were at 22%, and now they're going to 31%. So they grew actually 9%. So what you see in the green, where the plus and minus, is where we grew. And then you're going to see, and what they're doing to help kindergarten is because their test is the Peli, and it's different than what we use. There's not time, and they can say it in any order they want. But with our dibbles that we do by the state, we have to have them in line, and they have 1 minute, upper and lower. You don't know what their letters they'll get, but they have to recognize those letters within that minute. So kindergarten at the beginning of the year was at 25%. That's overall, their composite score. They grew to 46%. That's a 21% gain. So we're excited about that. And then with phonemic awareness is what we use, Heritage, our curriculum that we use. So they were at 19% at the beginning of last year at pre-K. They're now at 51%, and they grew to 59% just in that component of that test, which is an 8% growth. So we're excited about that growth. Letter naming, ours is timed for a minute, so they were at 39%. Now they're at 43%, which is a 4% growth. You may think those are small, but when we start comparing to the state, you're going to realize that's growth for us. Anything we see as growth is awesome. And then first grade, at the beginning of the year, they were at 47. We did drop by 5%, but their goal is 80% to be there. And Mrs. Smith can tell you some things that they saw in the middle of the year data, and they are making some adjustments. Do you want to speak on some things that you're doing?
Yeah, Janae, you can kind of help me with this as well. So at the middle of the year, they always say the testing's a little bit harder for the middle of the year, so we always kind of expect that a little bit of a drop, but not much. But middle of the year, we decided to take 2 of our paraprofessionals and to support Janae and start basically tracking these students a little bit more often and seeing like exactly what areas these students needed, not just the area, but also specific, like which letters are they struggling with and where can we push them for support on that. As far as, for example, like pulling kindergarten. Kindergarten, we don't start really working with them until middle of the year, so we started them a little bit earlier. And then, Janae, can you share, what else do you want to share? Some things that we've done? I know, she
Okay,
can't.
let's get better. Well, just about the paraprofessionals, that frees up so much time for me to actually work with the students because they're able to track instead of me just stopping that time and tracking them and giving them that practice of what we want. Really able to hone in on what skill they need.
We've really re-allotted some time too for our phonics skills lesson versus like the comprehension knowledge piece. Students seem like they're doing a little bit better in that, so we pulled back on some minutes for that and added it to our skills in phonics to give a little bit more time for that because that seems like they need to learn to read, and so that, you know, that was an area that we added to that. Just the past couple of weeks, we've had a veteran teacher go in and really support and work with another teacher. Their students seem to be struggling a little bit, but we're just trying to figure out where. And so we see that growth as well, helping those teachers who just need a little bit more support in that phonics curriculum area.
And Ms. Belinda, Ms. Belinda's also asked our PE teacher,
Yeah.
our Learn Love teacher, our art teacher to also pull in some of that.
Yeah. So they just try to embed literacy in all aspects all day long. And we've seen a lot of growth just in the tracking sheets that I've looked at that our Parish are working on. I mean, the growth is phenomenal. Our teachers are so surprised because a lot of it is just at this age test taking skills. I mean, it's hard to expect a kindergarten and a first grader with a 1 minute time to stay focused, to say what they need to say and not get off track, and they want to tell you a story and they'll love it. You know, so a lot of it is just test taking skills and strategies.
But I do, they're great. But I do want to point out, if you look at their middle of the year score, they're at 46%. The end of last year, they were at 49. So they're not but 3% away from reaching there. But I believe they're going to reach where they want to go because all the work they're doing behind the scenes and getting those kids ready.
And I know one more thing Janae said today, and I know just to give a shout out, Erica Williamson, she is our coach for our teachers, and so she said, I think at this point I feel like I've coached enough of the teachers to get them as far as their teaching strategies where they need to go. Now I want to go in and help them and support them with the students. So the past 2 weeks, what she's been doing is she's been going in during their intervention and center time rotations, and she's pulling a group and the teacher's pulling a group, and man, she said, I'm able to see exactly what these students need and be very intentional about that intervention time. So that's really, really helped us these last couple of weeks.
And so then we go to second and third grade, which is Ms. Kilpatrick and Kelly, who are the interventionists there. So they were at 59% at the beginning. They did drop to 51%, but their end of the year last year is at 56. So they're still there. There's some, they did drop there, but they have some things in place that she'll talk about along with Kelly, what they're doing to support those kids. And then I'll talk a little bit about your third grade. Third grade did drop 5%. But when you look at the state, we're going to see some things that were alike that we noticed. But they were at 58%, dropped to 53%. But if you look at their goal, at the end of the year, third grade, last year, they only had 45% at grade level. Right now, middle of the year, they've already surpassed where they were at the end of the year. Right. So that's a plus, and they know they got growing rate. And Ms. Kilpatrick, you want to talk about?
Yeah. So we hired a teacher, a certified teacher. That was a huge blessing, to support those students. But we knew it was going to be a challenge going into it because the scale from beginning of year to middle of year is so great. The scale from middle of year to beginning of year is not as big of a jump. So we knew it was going to be a challenge, and we had some things in place at the beginning of the year, but we realized about middle of the year, okay, we're gonna have to do a little bit better. So Kelly and I put our heads together and was like, okay, you know, what are we gonna, where is the biggest bang for our buck? And so we looked at focusing on nonsense word fluency and oral reading fluency, because that's your biggest area on 2nd and 3rd grade. And from there, she just put together groupings for the teachers. She put together packets for the teachers that were specific to those children. And then we went in and modeled for the teachers, like, this is what this looks like in your room, to kind of take that load off of them. And we just started monitoring and implementing, you know, that plan. We also pulled back on some paraprofessionals and asked them to go into the literacy lab, the computer lab. So now our 3rd graders in the afternoon get an additional 30 minutes of intervention. Even the ones that are benchmark and above benchmark, we are also providing them some work that they need to work on to keep them at the level and continue growing them. And then Miss Mary Baker, my instructional coach, she was just like, she just cleared her schedule for the afternoon, and she pulls kids too. So she and Miss McElwain, instead of Miss McElwain having 4 to 5 children, they each only have 2 to 3 children. And so it really reduces the load on the teacher. They can individualize, and so we are really looking to see some growth. Miss Baker and Miss McElwain are progress monitoring all 3rd grade students to track to see if our efforts are making a difference, and they are. It's I don't know if you have that report with you, but
May's testing all students, whereas we were just doing our intervention. So now every kid in school gets it. So they're not seeing it just 3 times a year, they're doing it every time a
practice matters.
Especially the 2nd grade, because they've never done it. You know, 3rd grade had all last year.
Well,
But
too,
now everybody does it.
I'm glad you said that. We've gotten all teachers on board with the process and just making sure that they understand. Kelly went into all of their classrooms and was like, this is the process, this is what it looks like, and then the teachers are now, you're hearing more of that in their classrooms. Their 2nd grade teachers have modeled some of their vocabulary test grades off of what the maze looks like, so that it's you know, cohesive in all areas. The math teachers are given their plugs for why reading comprehension works and the use of vocabulary words, and trying to make it all look the same in all subject areas, so that when they do take this test, it's not, like Ms. McElwain said, 3 times a year. It's just something that they're used to doing. Because we notice at 2nd and 3rd grade, they've done this a time or 2, so they kind of don't really see the purpose of it. They're just kind of like, you know. So we had to find some ways to try to get this to where they understood the importance of it. And with a child, the more you push, a lot of times the more they retreat. So we had to come up with some ways to just make this seem like normal life to them, so that the pressure wasn't there, but they also took it seriously.
So Melissa,
Yes.
Kelly, what if any input does a teacher have?
They are in the MTSS meeting, and they brainstorm with us in there.
And they're giving input?
Yes,
And
they
this is
do.
being accepted?
Yes. And they help plan with Miss McElwain for their classroom students, because they know them better than we do. I mean.
And they come to me when they have.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you.
I go to them if I have to.
So they feel comfortable enough to come to you with an issue of any kind?
I think so. I mean,
Really?
they come to my room a lot of times.
Any type of surveys given to see if that's the case with regards to them being comfortable, you know, having open lines of communication, doors open?
We did the middle of the year
Yeah,
survey.
our middle of year was very positive. So,
Well, I've never seen one, so I'm just asking.
yeah, and it was, I mean, I didn't have any negative on that about as far as them feeling like, and 2, I'm not the literacy guru, that's Kelly. And so I just funnel them to her, and then we go learn it together. And then, but I don't really have to facilitate that relationship between them, because it's already there.
So overall, Kelly, you feel like there's an open door policy, teachers feel comfortable enough to come?
100%. And Ms. Guerrero came in and did a training too, to the teacher, and was it just the new teachers? and showed them the process of how we test. So now they understand it a little bit better and are able to work with their kids just the way they're being tested.
And I have her teachers say, oh, I need to go ask Ms. McElwain something. So I have her them say that, so they feel very comfortable going to her and asking for support. And then Ms. Gregory is not here today, but she grew in both 4th and 5th, 42% to 47%, and at 5, so they grew 5% in 4th grade. And if you look where she was at the end of the year last year, 4th grade was a weak group last year, and they were only at 32% at the end of the year. But right now, in the middle of the year, she's at 47%. So she's even above where she was at the end of the year. So we're shooting for that 4th grade's at 52% to get them there. And then her 5th grade went from 32% beginning of the year to 38%, which was a 6% growth. And then if you look at it, she's at 44 at the end of last year. So they have things in place that they're working with. And Ms. Ainsworth, you can speak of that.
Well, one of the things I think that's really helped this year is we stole one of Janae's paraprofessionals from Grace. I didn't have anybody like that to work with me last year, and Miss May is in there, and it's kind of like what Kelly spoke to a minute ago about how, so we take the groups that are in intervention for each of those interventions times for each of the English teachers. There's 12 groups throughout the day, and so some of the groups may be rather large. There may be 12 people. Having her in there helps me because to split them up so that, and we group them so that the ones who are maybe working on a 2nd or 3rd grade level, maybe I'm working with them. If they are closer to reading on benchmark, a lot of times I'll let her work with kids who are just need a little more practice to push them up to get them on benchmark. On the other hand, I let her work sometimes with the ones who are, we have a few that are kindergarten, 1st grade level that still need that integrity. She's had that when she was at Grayson, and so I play into her strength there and let her do the Haggerty with those kids. And their progress monitoring is showing the growth. Like we've got kids maybe who still struggle with letter naming even, and I can see by looking at the progress monitoring each time they're getting better and better. And so having her in there has helped tremendously because I feel like we're able to even narrow, funnel down more to what they need. And try to help them there. Some need more, some just need more practice. So,
and they all attend the MTSS meetings. The teachers do. They get into conversations. We talk about those students, and we make notes. We have a running record of those notes.
I hate Miss Gregory couldn't be here. She's got the stomach virus.
she was feeling nauseous when we left school yesterday, and so I wasn't surprised when she said, "Oh no, it's at our house."
Could I ask a question? This may be stupid. That on your 5th grade. Your goal is less than any of the other goals in this.
Because we want to surpass it. We really do. But a reasonable goal would be that where they were at the beginning, they started at 32%. So we try to increase it 10%. We want more, so that's where they set their goals, the principals do.
And I guess a reason why is because they were kind of like the COVID babies.
I'm glad you brought that up. So I was going to say our 5th grade group, our group last year was a little weak. The 5th graders, same thing with this one, and it was because they went home when they were getting what they should have been getting from kindergarten and 1st grade, and you really can see it. That's those areas that they missed are the ones we see that they struggle with still. So
that's also our group in the school district that more than 5th grade, by far and away the largest group of students with disabilities that we have. From any grade level, there's probably 10 to 15 more students in that group, in both of those grade levels than anywhere else in the school system.
And everybody's tested.
But progress monitored. So is that that's from everybody, right? Yeah. Okay. So I was going to say that includes all of the kids.
And the 3rd grade is the group that has to do well, or they don't go well.
Right. And we'll talk about that's the new law that's come out, and
that's your school, right?
That's a lot of pressure.
Well, I'm glad you're giving them tests constantly, so that it's not like a big issue that they can't sleep the night before because they know they're going to take that big test.
And it doesn't feel like a test.
Yeah.
The progress monitoring feels like just practice with them. They don't realize, we're progress monitoring today. So
I'm glad y'all did that.
So they're getting that practice constantly. And then sixth grade, Ms. Hillstead's here, they had a huge growth. And when I was thinking about sixth grade, we started this program, 3-4 years ago. So this is those that came with that program. So you can see the impact of how every year is growing. They started at 37%, they grew 20% to 57%. Seventh grade this is our first year working with them, so it's a learning curve. And Miss Hillstead, you want to talk a little bit? And then, of course, Miss Kelly is the interventionist there.
Yeah, I'm super thrilled about the 20-point growth and being able to have those conversations monthly with our MTSS team has really made a difference. Some kids have slipped through the cracks, so to speak, with needing extra support in the classroom, and so it's been a great process to be able to help students and provide them that extra support. Denise, that's her job, is going in and doing that, and that's amazing growth. The seventh grade, we kind of saw a little bit of a dip, so what we did to kind of address that was I called each student in and we had conversations, and actually one of the students, he dropped, and I said, what's going on? Like, why are you not performing on your test? And he said, I really can't see, and ended up getting glasses and has improved back to where he was above benchmark since then. So we're finding little things like that that are making huge differences. He's not the only one we've discovered that needed eyeglasses recently. It's been kind of quite a few, actually. So the teachers are pushing hard, and they're only, they don't get as much time basically as the sixth grade does. So they don't do the maze and those things. So they don't have exactly the same exact data points that the sixth grade does.
And we're only tracking a few of those. Those that were not on grade level at the end of sixth grade, those are the ones that we're working with separate.
That's what I was going to ask. So we're not testing all seventh graders.
Not all
They're
seventh
only tracking the ones who were not benchmarked in sixth grade. So if they were benchmarked, they're like out, and just moving forward with those who are struggling. I'm not pulling in anything. I thought.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Maria,
Yes, sir.
this sixth grade class, wouldn't they have been the class 3 years ago in COVID?
They would have been the one, let's see.
The fourth grade class,
Yes.
that was a big class. I remember being afraid of that class.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see if
That would have been in
So
second.
they were in second one, they were in
yeah,
second.
if because it seems as if Cater was able to overcome that.
And that was second grade, so they actually got, to be part of the learning the sounds of the letters. See, in kindergarten at first, they're learning B, says, and that. So when they got to second grade, they actually had that knowledge. They were at the step of learning to read, how to decode words. So they were at a little more advanced, they had a little more foundational skill. But they still had gaps. So with that sixth grade, they were able to do it with Denise's support. You want to add anything, Denise, or what?
I mean, I'm just telling you, bouncing off what Katie said about glasses. I wear glasses, and it's amazing that some students, their parents won't take them to actually get glasses, and they will sit down and they'll say, can I borrow your glasses? So I keep extra glasses of different strengths in my little cart that I carry around, just because they're wanting to do so good, but they can't see the material, and it's large print already for them. We're finding that Katie calling them in, talking to them one-on-one, we're finding little things, live with grandparents. Had something that happened the night before at home. They had to take care of a younger sibling, so they're open with us. They tell us, I was sleepy that day, or I didn't bring my glasses that day, or, they're open with us. One little boy the other day, he asked me, he said, can you not progress monitor me today? He said, I didn't get any sleep last night. So then that carries into me asking them a conversation. So then we got to get into their home life. Looking around this room at 6th and 7th grade, I have some of y'all's children. I have some of your grandchildren. And the phone call that I made, I guess it was about a month ago, the mom cried because she said her child had not passed a benchmark at the middle of the year in all of his time in intervention. And so, I'm going to cry. But anyway, so when they do it, and the kids literally at 6th and 7th, that you think that their hormones are just running crazy, and that's that age where they don't care, they do care. I mean, if I play a game with them in intervention, because I push in, so I'm opposite of the younger students, so I push in because it would take us too long to get out of a classroom and out to a room and then back. So I just push in, and we have some of the benchmark and above benchmark students say, can I be in your group next week? Can I come to your group? You know, and I'm like, no, you can't. Or sometimes once a month we will work it. I'll talk with Miss Buckaloo, I'll talk with Mr. Sal, and I'll say, hey, can I have your whole class? And let's do whatever, you know, if it's prefixes, suffixes, if it's whatever the skill is that they're working on. Last week we were talking about positives, you know, so if I have skills and games that I can play, the whole group wants to do it. It's not just, oh, she's the fun center time person, you know. So that's really encouraging, but the notes to the parents, the text to the parents, and the response I'm getting from parents is amazing. Because the kids are actually going home telling them. In the 6th and 7th grade, not a lot of them go home and tell things at school,
They're
you
being
know.
successful.
Yeah.
Being successful.
Yeah, and I will say that we have a new ELA teacher in 6th grade, and he's very fresh, and Denise has been really able to support him and show him what they need to do to succeed. And I mean, his growth was just as close as Ms. Buckaloo, who has been a veteran teacher. So he's listening, absorbing, and doing what he needs to do to grow those kids as well. So we're super proud of their growth.
Going back to your question, Mr. Glass, during that time, you've got to remember we had masks. And so kids have to see how your letter, like the letter B and D, kids get those reversed. So if you look at the letter B, you see the line first, so your mouth is straight. And so if you have your mouth covered, they're not able to see that. And because we had to wear masks. And then if you have the sound, the D, it's a circle, so your mouth goes into a circle. So that's how they distinguish the B from the D.
They were all from
Yeah. Virtual and things, and it was just not having a teacher there, so yeah. And then 9th grade is our new this year. And Miss Garcia's at some sports events, but Miss Fisher's here. And this is our first time working with those. And the word is that comes up, it comes up so fast because we had to take it as a practice. It's called the roar. And we're piloting this year. And so it comes up and it flashes, and you have to know that word real quick. The sentence part is just a phrase, and it's just as quick as the word. And so, and they take that test online, and then it scores them. We did grow in the word because they're able to see the word, but the fluency, the sentence part, we dropped 7%, and it's because the kids needed more practice. But they're doing that a lot more in the classrooms. We went in and did some oral fluency strategies for them, like coil read, close read, partner read, and so we did different things, repeated reading with them, and so they're using those strategies. So you'll see things on Facebook that they're already applying those strategies. And I'll let Ms. Fisher talk about what she does for 9th grade.
I do a lot of reteaching skills because my 9Ts have missed out on grammar, spelling, phonics, the basics of what they need to conquer that language. And then that also in turn affects their writing. So when they go into their regular ELA class, they're going to have difficulty with writing and reading the 9th grade content because they're not strong enough for it. But I have to say, I'm going to brag on my kids. They grumble and they mumble and
not 15-year-olds.
Yeah, especially first thing in the morning too. But they will get in there and they will work hard for me, and they have seen success because when they go into their regular ELA classroom, they become the expert, and just to see them just swell up with that pride and know that they can do it and feel secure in answering is amazing. Because now I'm seeing that some of the other kids want to be grouped with my kids because they think they have the advantage.
This is pre-teaching.
Yeah, because I do a lot of pre-teaching, and I'm actually moving to backing off a little bit of that because my kids have been so successful, and their ANET scores show it. I've had about 7 of my kids, 7 out of 15 increased by at least 20 points or better in their ANET scores from the fall to the winter
this last one. So that tells us that we're going to be successful or more successful on that link test.
Ms. Fisher, do any of your 90 students, are any of them students with disabilities?
Yes.
Quite a few of them.
Quite a few of them.
And the reason I want to call that out is I think in a lot of places there's a mindset that if a kid gets to high school and they haven't learned how to read, we're just going to assume that this kid can't learn how to read. And Ms. Guerrero and all of these ladies have built what I was told in Baton Rouge a couple of weeks ago, one of the only systems in the state where we're doing reading intervention from almost birth now, but I mean, age 3 all the way till they graduate. And I think it just, the commitment that no matter how young or how old you are, we're not going to give up on you, and we are going to continue everything we can do because we know how important literacy is. That's huge, and it's something I said in a meeting in Baton Rouge. I was told the other day there aren't very many parishes at all that are even trying in the high school space to do this, and it means a lot for these kids who, like you said, and what you said, haven't had a lot of success, but even now, like, you may be 15 and you're going to complain about it, and that's fine, but I'm going to love you and push you until this happens.
That's right.
So I'm very thankful. They work very hard. And I'm going to go quickly through the next slide because it's in your packet. It just shows us where we were against the state. At the beginning of the year, the state was at 29. This is K-3. This is where we were. The state was at 47. We were at 48. We were actually 1 point ahead of them at the beginning. And then at the middle of the year, they were at 52. We were at 48, just 4%. And you're going to see all of this. We're within that 5% from the state. And what makes the only thing different is first grade, but they realized what the need was, and they quickly put something in place to make sure at the end of the year. So if you go through the next one, you can see here, and what they're talking about, the scores at the bottom, it's also on yours. If you'll see, at the beginning of the year, they only have to make a 306 to be green. Middle of the year, kindergarten has to be at 371. And then 420 at the end. So every time they're making growth, that score gets higher and higher. So we're trying to find a way, how can we get them there as quickly as we can? So even if you look at Caldwell compared to the state, we're not but within 3% of being where the state was. And so if you go, first grade is the same thing. You can see that that's the one that dropped on us, but they have action plans in place. But even looking at the state, they only grew 1% from beginning to the middle. Just 1% statewide. And so that shows that we're below, but still we have actions in place to do that. And you can see the scores that they go consistently up. Second grade is the same thing. We're ahead at the beginning, but we fell 4%. And you can have it in there. We'll just flip through those and quickly see because I want to go to the other. Third grade is our target grade because the new law says anyone that falls well below at the end is going to be the ones that have to go to summer camp. Last year at this time, we had 50 kids that scored well below that would have fallen in this law. This year, we only have 27. So yes, so the program is working. We're excited because compared from last year, just the ones that was in red, we would have had 50. This year, we only have 27. So we're excited about that. Hopefully that number will drop by the end of the year. And then fourth, I've given you the scores so you kind of see how the scores goes up every time, every year. And then the next slide you're going to see is the growth.
The reason you don't see the other state comparison is that the state does not require the test in fourth and up. We do that just because we want to make sure that we are continuous. Right. That's why we don't have a comparison.
Right. Good, yes. And then just to show you that every teacher has a class. Every little bar that you see there, the blue and the red is one child. That's how much they've grown. From the blue to the red, that blue beginning of the year to red middle of the year. You see every one of them's grown. You can go through there, every one of them is grown. They're growing, but the score goes higher, so now we're working through ways. So you can see how much growth they've gone. Even sixth grade's on there. And look at their growth. And they're excited because even though seventh grade was weaker, they had so much growth. They did. So they have grown tremendously. We're excited about that. And so you have seventh grade, even ours. But we have this is just a few of the pictures. These are the teachers, the interventionists, and you can see what they're actually, even our babies in Head Start, in pre-K, they're learning letters and sounds. So we appreciate this team because we couldn't do it without them. We have an amazing team.
Could you go back to slide one on there? Can you go back to slide one? I got a quick question. First, let me say thank you for literacy and stuff, because I don't think anything we do in life, we got to know how to read and communicate. What I would like for you to see, because you always give a very, very broad report, I would like to see, instead of 19%, I would like to see 8 out of 9 or
Okay.
and
All
whatever
right.
the percentage
Numbers,
is.
okay.
I would like
Sure.
to see how many children are actually
In that number. Right.
in that program. What are we doing? Because 19% is just a number, but when you start speaking on kids, I go, oh man, 4 out of 6 went up, or something. It makes me feel better about seeing them as a 4 out of 6 as opposed to 66.67%. So.
Okay. Definitely. We'll
Thank you.
definitely do that.
Yes, ma'am.
Maria, this is not a
Reverse math.
a gotcha question.
Yes.
Based on all this that you've given, are you confident that this year might be better than the previous 2 years with regards, to the scores?
It looks like it is.
Yeah, because I mean, we
looks like it
really
is.
need to be going up.
Right. We are.
So hopefully, everything you guys need,
Right.
you're getting, hopefully, teachers are being able to, participate. Melissa, hopefully, whatever you guys need, that, y'all can get, because, I mean, we're counting on you, and we're willing to do, whatever it is that we can do to kind of help you guys, because at the end of the day, we're all in the same boat. So, rather than sinking, we'd like to be going forward.
Something else I forgot to mention earlier that I feel like is going to be a very integral piece of this is after middle of year, we had the teachers, and this was teachers' ideas. They called in the parents of all the children that were below benchmark and had a sit-down face-to-face meeting with them, with the parent, the ones that were able to come in. And we had a huge, yes, we did. I would say probably 75% of the parents wanted to come in and meet, and we showed them all the data. Ms. McElwain helped prepare that information. We showed it to them in a parent-friendly terms, so they understood exactly. They don't need to see all this, but they understood exactly where their child was struggling, and then we had materials ready to say, this is how you can help them at home. And they are really helping. I feel like with the oral reading fluency passages, we've seen a lot of growth in that with that returned, signed and
How did you
parents.
get those parents there?
We just called and asked them what was
They
best.
came individually, came all at once.
They came individually. It was a one-on-one meeting.
So that took you quite a bit of time.
It took them about 2.5 weeks. Yeah, and they did that.
That's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
See, we need more of that.
Well, it's the
We need
ladies.
more time, because what that does for me is it keeps more people off my rear end, because the parents don't know what the heck's going on. And when you bring in people like that, and it took you quite a bit of time, and whoever else was helping you,
It's the teachers. I
that's,
want to give them
that's
credit.
huge, because you probably didn't get to do that during class time. You probably did it before school, or after school, or during somebody's planning period.
During their planning, and that's it. We offered, we didn't have a lot that wanted to come after school, but several of them were okay with coming at like 7:15. A lot of them came and played. Now, we did have some that, work out of town, or they work and can't get up there, and they called in, or we had a couple that wanted to do a face-to-face through Google Meet, and but we made it work. I had ladies on their cell phones from home, because that's the only time that the parents could meet was 7 o'clock at night. And so they really tried very hard on that, and they were successful with meeting every single parent, some way or another.
Was it sort of like the meeting that you, Maria, that we kind of set up last year with a parent to explain? So do you find that once a parent understands what it is that they need to understand, you get better results out of it?
Yeah, they
so
do.
Is that a practice I'm assuming that every principal is using? Because, if they do understand and they feel wanted, most of the time they do perform.
Yeah, they do. And then too, once they have the resources.
Right.
So that was a major piece that we thought you can't say, go have them do an oral passage, because they're gonna walk out of there. So it was like, here, this is for your child, 1 minute on this, 1 minute on this, every night.
Didn't we make a video?
Yeah, we made some TikToks. We have some teachers that made some TikToks of this is what it looks like.
Well, I've seen you do what you needed to do, so I have utmost confidence, in you, and I think if everybody can buy into that, it's a hell of a lot easier to get a parent to get involved. Because if you don't have a parent involved, you pretty much lose a kid.
Well, I think we live in this world that I call in athletics the why world. And if I know why I'm doing this, I can make a kid run through that wall. But if I just tell them to go run through the wall, he ain't gonna run through it. But if I know why, and I think they get that way because their parents are now that way. Everybody wants to know why, and if I know why and you involve me, I do a better job. I mean, I think that should be in so many other things we're doing. Good job.
At the junior high grade level, I'll add this, because they're very proud of their education as far as their ability at their grade level and age. Let me say that. Because if you have 11, 12, 13, 14-year-olds all in the same building, y'all know all the hormones that's going on at that age group. But when I presented to them, I made a doc and I showed them their beginning of the year scores, and if y'all don't know what that is, it's oral reading fluency, how many words they can read in 1 minute, then their accuracy. Out of that 1 minute, how many did they get correct and what is your percentage? And then maze is simply every 10th word. There's a choice of 3 words. What word fills in the blank to keep the story flowing in context. So we give those 3 scores. So at my age group, I gave them the boy, what they made, the MOY, which is middle of year, what they made. Then I went ahead and gave them what they should make at the end of the year, which is pretty much what she's presenting up here, except it's their actual numbers. And so many of the students that you don't hear talk a lot said, if I said you're only 5 words away from your end of the year goal, they was like, I can do that. And I'm like, yeah, you can. And one little girl today told me, she said, I came into 6th grade and I didn't think that I could read. She said, but I can, And I mean, she might not be reading but 57 words in 1 minute, but she came into 6th grade thinking she couldn't read. So we're seeing their attitude towards reading getting a little better in the junior high level is how I see it.
Nick, I don't know who set this up, but this confirms what I've always said. Listening to you is one thing, and we hear you all the time, but to hear what they're saying, it only justifies and legitimizes what it is that we need to know. So when we're talking to these parents and these people that Bo was talking about getting on this rear end, we have information that can validate that this is taking place at this school, this is taking place at this particular school. Because again, when we interact with you guys, it gives us a better idea as to what we need to do when we're talking to people. Because most of the time, 99% of the time, they're complaining about something that may or may not be true, but to them, it's probably true because their perception is what they see. Yeah. So when we can validate what it is that you guys are doing, we can always come back and kind of offset, well, that's not taking place there. Here's what's taking place. So I'm glad that you guys came. I wish you would come every meeting because I like to ask questions. And I don't care about how long the meeting is because I'm here to make sure that people understand that we're doing the best job and that we're educating kids. And when I say educate, I'm not talking about graduating. I'm talking about they're learning something, so when they do graduate, they know what they need to know.
Oh, maybe every, 3 months.
Literally, when I was signing in this morning, Maria said, I sent you my slide deck, will you look at that? And she was telling me about it. I was like, I wish we had thought to ask the interventionists to come. I said, why don't you just send out an email, tell them they don't have to come, but if they're available, come, and every single one of them showed up.
Well, Nick, I think the interventionists are just as important as a director because they're on the ground and they can provide information that you really can't give us other than by second party. So I think I'm going to come visit you again, Karen. Sandra, I would like to come visit you, Kelly, each one of you guys, just to see for myself what it is.
They would love it.
That, not to, for any correction, I'd like to know what it is I'm being told so I can explain to people.
No, it'll be good because let me tell you, whenever I go to get my groups, when I go to the classroom, I've got the ones who are reading 150, 170, 180 words a minute. Go, can you get me today? And I'm like, yeah, I don't think I can help you. Because they're the ones that are, because I guess the ones that do come they,
it.
they enjoy
They love
going, and, you know, and we work. I mean, I probably could do more games, but I'm just so, you know, I wanna get them where they're supposed to be by the end of the year, that I'm like, we working, but you got any skills for that? No, ma'am.
We spend a lot of money on candy. We'll do anything for a piece of candy.
But they work hard and they enjoy it, and so whatever it is, you know, apparently it's got the good word in the classroom, because they all want to, I'm like,
But you know, Denise, if the skill is what it takes, then.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, yeah.
'Cause I mean, we're losing too many, and we need to do whatever we can to,
Exactly.
to maintain. So
Incentivize
Sandra,
them,
you
yes.
guys, hats off to you. You got a wonderful team, and I'm glad it's been my classmates, not somebody else's.
I say so.
So,
Yeah.
good luck.
Thank you. Hey, can I get somebody to get a picture of me? Will you get a picture of me out front? I know, but y'all also know.
Mr. Ken, you gonna let them go home?
Yeah, y'all can go home. Yeah, take the picture, you go.
Thank you for having us.
Thank y'all.
All right, we need to approve the school calendar.
Just a small game.
We're at,
Maria, that Maria. I was thinking you.
You notice I done moved away from you.
Caldwell's playing Gina tonight, so it's a big deal.
You free, though.
I'm getting texts too. If anybody notices that people get it on phone, it takes some. They may not want to go.
Yeah. Okay, let's change it.
all right, school calendar.
All right.
Go ahead and approve that.
Okay, so you should have in there, we put out the 2 calendar options for vote this year, and option A is the one that we're asking for you to approve. It received 66.7% of the vote out of a total, it looks like, of 138. We sent this out to all staff throughout the district, all staff, yes. And so some key things to notice in this, we really listened to our teachers. I will tell you that a big change in the calendar came from my advisory council. I have that superintendent advisory council that I meet with quarterly. And what we noticed is that we were asking teachers to come in on Mondays, you know, not all the time, but periodically, and paying $35 an hour, and then they were still not showing up. And so I went through my stages of anger. Why are you not coming for this professional development to this? We asked them not to schedule their doctor's appointments during the school week, so let's try not to do Mondays. And so one of the ideas that the advisory council gave me was, if we could just embed these throughout the year on a Tuesday through Friday, it would help us to plan ahead for childcare, and it would still leave our Mondays free. So we could reduce the amount of time that we're asking them to come in on Mondays. That I think we just live in a time where money is great, but it's
So,
not.
Nikki, how much were you paying on Mondays?
$35 an hour is what y'all raised it to, because the state passed
And it was
the.
complicated to get them?
Yeah, it was. And so what I
Were they
had to
coming
just.
all day?
No, I mean, sometimes it was 2 hours, sometimes 6 hours. I mean, it just kind of depended, but, you know, they value their time at home, or they value their time with grandkids and stuff, and so we really just had to rethink, childcare.
You're paying a babysitter?
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
they're good.
So the advisory council, you know, we talked about brainstorming, why aren't people coming, what can we do, and so. Yeah, so we came up with it. So what we decided to do is, rather than have all the Mondays, not saying we're getting rid of every Monday, because sometimes things will come up, but to schedule out at the end or around the end of every grading period, we would have a day. And so we spread out our built-in days. Those are gray. And so we have 2 at the beginning of the year, and then we have 1 on a Monday, October the 20th, which is a parent-teacher conference day, but it is homecoming week, so you really only have to go 4.5 days that week. And then the other gray day is when we come back from Christmas, coming back and having teachers only on that Tuesday, and then the kids would come back on Wednesday. And so those would be our professional development days that we always have, just the 4. And then the green days are going to be virtual days for students. We have learned this year that
we can have a continuous learning day, and it's a lot better than having to call off and make up and do all of that. And so if we can assign the work through Google Classroom or paper packets, then the students can do their work while the teachers are on the clock anyway. And so we built in a day at the end of September. There will be a virtual student day, but the teachers will work, and then at the end of March. And you'll see those kind of fall around the end of the 9 weeks. That September 30th is when all of our DIBELS data and ANET data first cycle gets through, so it gives you a day that you can look at that information. And we marked homecoming on there. I think there's anything else. Pardon? Yeah, homecoming is the 24th, and that way we knew. The options we gave them was we could have teachers start on the 5th and 6th and students on the 7th and take a full week at fall break, or if they wanted to start the next week, so start a week later for students on the 12th, they could just take 2 days of fall break, and that's what the major vote was, is the majority just wanted that whole week off in October as opposed to just 2 days. We will not currently have soft start dates built in. We decided, and even the staff, we talked about that. It's not necessary for all grades. We may sit down and talk about kindergarten, pre-K a little bit with the little ones, but just said, let's do away with so we can get those full instruction days. The feedback I got was that it was a wasted day for some grade levels. So we're adjusting.
They'll start on the 7th.
So yeah, teachers come back on the 5th and students come back on the 7th. All students, no soft start.
That's a full day?
That's a full day.
The last day?
And the last day is May 22nd. We usually have a work day, a teacher work day after that, but we decided we would end everybody on the same day because we're trying to get everybody out before Memorial Day. And the way the calendar fits right now, it's just crazy. But yes, the last student day is the 22nd.
And the majority chose this one?
66.7%.
You know, the only thing that concerns me on this is starting in August, that, starting as few weeks as we could go to school in August, it seemed that we'd be better off as far as these kids on buses, because we do have a problem with feeding them on these four of us. And one of the things that really concerns, it's not necessarily that, and I don't want to get into a bus issue on this. August is the hottest month of the year. And, it's not June, it's not July. August is our hottest month of the year. And that, starting that early just adds another week of heat to these kids on the buses. And we'll talk about something else as far as scheduling later. The whole month, actually, if you start with that.
Yeah, that's what they voted. I mean, we put out a calendar that had them coming on the 12th.
I wish we could do like we do in high school when we start September 1st.
Yeah, well, but the problem is we're required to have 145 school days. And so making 145 days, and I can't tell you how many people have counted these days, making sure that we are meeting the state guidelines, but you have to have 145 days.
The 22nd of May is the last one?
The 22nd of May is the last student and teacher.
Oh, yes. With going 4 days a week, it does limit you.
Right.
It's the same amount of hours.
It's minutes, yeah.
Oh, it's minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
If we were to back off to a 5-day, that 145 would be another number.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, it would be, yeah.
I got you.
Yeah. So you really, it's not, you still have the same number of minutes in a week.
And maybe these 145, that's including the virtual and...
Yes, it does, yes.
How many days we got built in for, I guess, disaster?
We did not build any in this time because we learned this year that we are doing just fine with a continuous learning day. And so
Okay, so that's offset. So
Yeah,
even if
it
they're
is.
off, they're doing.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
when they're doing virtual, are we getting enough participation? Because I know in Washington Parish, sometimes they don't.
I know
So
for
we-
us, we send home paper packets to
Yeah.
K1, and we told the parents, in order for this not to count absent for you, to send it back,
So
and
it's
you'd
working.
be
Yeah, I mean,
amazed.
I'm
Yeah,
okay
we got
with it, yeah.
stacks of
So we don't
paper.
need built-in.
I don't. I feel good about, and I've talked to the principals and the directors and supervisors at the staff meeting last week, and we all felt very comfortable with, we
'Cause I think it's a
know
good
what
thing.
we're doing, let's just, rather than making up those weather days.
As long as you're getting the participation, then it's okay.
Well, even on Tuesday, the high school had ACT, and so only the students who were taking the ACT came, and everybody else had virtual assignments. So my two 15-year-old freshmen were at the kitchen table doing their Google assignments and then copying definitions and you know, words for a teacher. So they have to get it done, and they hold them. They'll hold them to a 10-point, you know, classroom grade. You got a high school kid too, yeah. They do it.
I ain't gonna push back on the calendar, but I'm kinda like Brandon, because it is hot, but if that's what they voted on,
That's where I'm at.
then,
That's what
you
they
know,
want.
I don't know if they consider the heat and all that other stuff, but it's,
Well,
I mean, half a day's or something, but I'll vote for it, I don't have an issue
yeah, I'm
with
fine
it.
with it too, but I just wonder, the other calendar, when would you have got out of school?
Same end date. The
Same
only
end date.
difference in
That's what
this
I was-
calendar and the other calendar was whether you take a whole fall week break or you take 2 days.
When did you start school last year?
It was 8 of us.
The teachers came back on the first.
Yeah.
Teachers came back on the first.
It was the
Yeah.
first week of August.
Like the
was.
4th, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Was that
So we started school August the 4th last year.
Yeah.
So we're actually starting 3 days
Well,
later than
yeah.
what we did last
But
year.
they started soft days last year.
Yeah, and we're not doing the soft start days anymore. So you're getting full days as opposed to, and it's all day, but it's not every kid. It was like half the kids here and half the kids here. And the feedback I got too, especially at junior high and high school, is they were like, those days aren't gonna do anything, we're not coming anyway. And so those were wasted days. And when you start seeing that it's being wasted, you gotta change.
If they didn't have a choice to go that, say the 29th is the last day of this,
That's what I was wondering.
But 29th, I don't even know why that's red.
but I don't care about that, I'm just saying that they have a choice to go an extra week and start it later and go an extra week longer.
No, I did not give them that time because, and this is a, it's, I don't know, what kind of decision. You don't want to add more days at the end of the year because you've already gone through all your testing. I don't want to give up 4 days, I don't want to move 4 days to May when I could have had 4 days in the school year before they take all their tests. I want meaty instructional days because once they get through the test,
April and May is.
yeah, it is all just, I mean, it's just trying to go through the motions and get all the things done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those
So you have
kids
to,
were something.
you have to think about the productivity of the actual days. And you're gonna get better instructional days in the beginning of the year.
So you wanna vote on this tonight, cause
Yes. People need to plan them.
if, you know, I'm either way, but they wanted this, so I don't feel like I should change it, even though I have an issue with it. But if that's, cause Nick, and I'm glad to see you defend what you want.
Well, I listened.
Yeah.
I listened to the advisory council with, I mean.
So I better not get nobody tomorrow calling me saying that they need
You will, I promise you will.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, because I mean, well,
You had your opportunity to
yeah, you know,
vote.
because seriously, it is hot.
33%, yeah.
And, I mean, that's,
You ain't not gonna please everybody.
yeah.
That's
vote
why you
no,
hold
and
it.
everybody else voted
And
yes.
I explained in my email too, what was option A and what was option B, and what the differences were in there.
I got
so.
5 texts right now, so they didn't vote. No, I'm lying. Now, Randy, you okay with it? Because I'm with you.
Somebody give us a motion to.
I make a motion, we approve
So
the
they can get the real.
26 school calendar.
Shoot at you.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
But Nick, I do like the innovation that you guys were able to overcome why the teachers were not coming, so y'all put something there to offset the participation. I like the innovation on that, so whoever did
I
that.
got good ideas from my advisory council, because they're the ones who are living it.
$35 an hour.
Yeah.
Well, that's all grant money, so we'll just budget it in another way.
Give it to the robotics teacher.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get us some.
Now we're financial update.
Yay.
Yeah.
I know it's a favorite part of y'all's
That's
meeting.
collection.
Anyway, I emailed this out earlier today. Hopefully y'all had a chance to look at it, but it's remarkably similar to last month. I'm still worried about general fund and lunch fund and all my two biggest concerns. I think if we hit $900,000 deficit, that might be somewhat of a celebration. I hate to say that. I talked to Franklin today, and they're in the same boat. Not that that does anything for us, but I guess Mr. Bus Company. So we're in the same boat with Franklin. Sales tax, I mean, the benefit is we didn't pay out that $850 in in December this past year like we did in the prior year, so we are ahead on that one. 77 last year versus 46 in the current year. Lunch fund, I think we have a little bit of a timing difference on supplies, on food costs, and it just depends on when Carla gets the invoices in. It looks like for February, she got the invoices in a little bit quicker than they came in last year. So food costs look like it's 50,000 ahead of last year, which is a lot, but I think, again, a lot of that is time. And then maintenance fund, that seems to be our star fund all this year. We're ahead 292 versus 259 probably. Then the next page.
David, hold on.
Yes, sir.
So I see $900,000 budget deficit continues to be the best case scenario.
Yep.
There's a possibility that we could get higher than that.
Once I know the MFP number, which I think might even already out, I've not had time to look at it. Huh? She might have. So, I'll be able to isolate the numbers a little bit better, and then I'm gonna run through the salaries, and I mean, salaries is a pretty long.
I know you got a full plate, but this is about to be the third consecutive year
Yep.
of us being around $1 million in deficit on our budget.
Yep.
So, something's got to be done.
I agree wholeheartedly.
And the answer is the state's not going to give us more money.
We're still fighting for it. I met with legislators last Tuesday. We had a superintendent round table with legislators.
How did they go, man?
It went very well. They were very receptive. I was able to speak a lot about the insurance, and I think them, because the chairman of the finance committee was there, and we were talking about the not getting funded with the MFP. And I said, y'all, but if you think about property insurance and how that, and I just gave them, I had the numbers from you, and I was able to show them how it had gone from, 5-digit numbers up to 6-digit numbers, and just kept climbing and climbing. And so I said, and all these are growing, but you're not giving us any more MFP money. So I think finally we had some, oh my goodness, we need to get more money. And I was like, yes, we need to get more money. So at least that conversation, I think, resonated a little bit about the MFP. Is that we're not, we're educating less when our enrollment is down. It is up February from October, but we're still funding the same, you're still giving us the same amount of money, but our expenses are up here. So we're never gonna be able to just doing nothing until something happens. Along those lines, one of the things that we are talking about is when we get ready for our staffing meetings. Kim, did y'all get that scheduled? Staffing meetings with Angela after the break, for us to look at those enrollment numbers to see if there are positions, because that's where the major cuts can take place, is if we need to cut.
And that is so hard to do.
It's terrible.
We're going through it at my school right now. It is so hard to do because these people are our friends. They're our family. It's.
Well, and our hope
That's
is
our
that,
biggest expense.
But our hope is that, like, no one's losing a job, but if
But
someone
we're not
decides to
replacing
leave,
somebody.
we're not replacing that position. So, but we really have to sit down and look at numbers, because we don't want to do anything that's detrimental to our classroom sizes. But if we have grades that are smaller, then we could do away with one teaching slot in that area. But,
I know your principal's
And
not
to,
going to hear
and
that.
to address your concerns, we
Yes,
are
sir.
meeting in the executive and finance committee, have been for the past 2 months, we've had 3 times now, and we are meeting again in April
April the 8th.
8th, so any of y'all that want to, come and sit down.
We're
and
coming
get
up with some ideas there, Randy.
We're tossing around everything, we're tossing around, we're brainstorming, we've talked about attrition, we've talked about different uses for the sales tax, we're talking about several different things. And
Well, like David said, Franklin's in the same, I hate to borrow another parish, but they're in the same boat, and there's some more in the same boat or worse than that.
But we can't, and like I've stressed in our meetings, we cannot continue this. This is something that we're gonna have to address. We can't bury our heads in the sand any longer. We can't wish upon wish that if this happens, then we're gonna get this, because that may or may not happen. We can't do that as a board. We can't do that fiscally as a board. We have a responsibility to do something. And whether it's gonna make a lot of people mad, which it may, and it's gonna be hard decisions that everybody's gonna have to make. But it's decisions that we're gonna have to make as a board, and to do this, because nobody wants to make that decision.
No.
And that's what we're elected for. That's what they expect us to do. Now, like I said, it's gonna make some people, what we're gonna end up having to do, in my opinion, and I know Nikki's kind of, she doesn't look at it the same way I do necessarily.
I brought it up, man. I'll get you out of the water.
But we're looking at that. That's the point of getting at is we're looking at it. We're going to try and do it the best way we possibly can to affect the least amount of people. And but we're going to address the issue one way or another. We're going to address the issue. We're going to have to. That's what we're doing.
But Nick, when it all comes down to it, these are your decisions. The board don't have anything to do with that because we only hire and fire the superintendent and make policy. So that's your decision. And I'm hoping that, you know, you can look at, you know, whatever it is that you need to look at. And I know that you'll
I'm
make
trying to
the
be
best,
fiscally responsible,
decision.
you know, at the same time. But something I do want to call your attention, made me think about it. There is an election coming up. I think March 29th is the. And so I take this opportunity with this audience to talk about the proposition number 2, which is, I don't have to act all the numbers, but the amendment number 2 to provide with respect to the power of taxation, including limitations thereon. This is the GoVote app, because I'm reading it from here. But in this very long embedded tax thing is buried that teacher stipend that we've been given, that $2,000, $1,000. And so what the state is trying to do is get the voters to pass this, which would require districts to give that $2,000, $1,000 stipend as a part of the salary. And they're going to call it a teacher raise, and they're saying we're trying to get teachers raises, and we want teacher raises too. But what they're really doing is they're telling the school boards, you have to take your savings from TRSL. You have to take all the money that you're saving because those rates went down, and you have to spend it on the $2,000, $1,000. We need to spend it to reduce this budget. We don't need them telling us what we need to do with our, and how much is it ended up in? How much was the savings? Do you know?
I don't know.
But you could figure that out, and we can send it out to you.
But they're stealing also the educational excellence fund. That's about 50, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And also taking our HG money away, which is another 56,000.
Yeah. So this is all looks like it's wonderful, give teachers raises, and nobody wants teachers raises more than everybody in this room, but they're not funding it. They're telling us how we have to use our funds when we really need that money for this $900,000 deficit that we have.
This is going to take away from other departments.
Absolutely. And those savings are not going to cover all of those raises or those $2,000, $1,000. Because remember, it doesn't fund pre-K and Head Start. And so we've got a list of employees that we have to come up with that money for. And so it's going to put us further in the hole. So it's frustrating.
And that's all that's on the ballot for the board.
There's 4 amendments. I'm just telling you, I can't tell you how to vote. I'm just explaining what Amendment 2 is about.
So Randy, it's March now. We need to have some decisions by May, no later than June, because that's when the fiscal year ends. And I think people should have the right, maybe by end of April, 1st of May, to know if they're going to be affected or not. Because again, I don't think anybody's doing it just because we want to do it. If you're forced to do it, then we have to look at all those options. And unfortunately, you know, somebody may, hopefully it won't go that way.
Well, hopefully we could do it through attrition, you know, and do the majority of it that way. But we're looking at it. It's something that's and you're going to all see exactly, you know.
And another savings that we did this year, we have always sent a lot of people to Teacher Leader Summit, and Ms. Wiley's funds pay for the registration, but general fund always pays for the travel, so the hotel, and we limited it, like no supervisors and directors and principals who aren't paid out of a grant are going to Teacher Leader. We're sending just the bare bones, 1 to 2 teachers per school, so that we can try to reduce that cost. One teacher from each school is going to Teacher Leader and 1 grow your own. Okay, so we're really trying to reduce what we're spending out of general fund, and so.
David, you need to work your magic, brother.
Well, you know, while we were listening to Maria, I was counting days on the school calendar. I came up with 148. I was asking Kim, oh my gosh, how do we get 148? And I was counting the students on those gray days or green days, I don't remember which way they are. And then we got down to 148 or 145. And then I was going to those last 3 days in May because those were not shaded red. I was like, oh gosh, I don't know, maybe I'm not the best person. And then after the financial report, there's Act 370, which has been stressing Nikki and me quite a bit. I'm not gonna go, I mean, you can read the whole thing, but basically one legislator person got really annoyed at one charter school that had fraudulent activity. So we ended up with Act 370 requirements. And you can turn to page,
Can I ask you a question about that? 'Cause I remember when this came out, but I didn't really dig into it.
well, that's where I was.
So one person can't do this. This was passed through the House, is that correct? Our House of Representatives voted on this and passed it through.
It passed the House and the Senate to
It
become,
must have,
yeah.
I mean, it's embedded in law.
But it was one person's vendetta,
Yeah.
you know, yeah.
But if you turn to page 4 of 7, Form C, that's the contract page. And so they want us to list all our contracts. But and probably I've not done this according to their directions, because they want anything with a purchase order. Everything we do is a purchase order. So they're not going to like this. The next page, Form D, they want every one of those line items is in yellow, which is a line item that contains a bunch of employees. That's one line item that is going to an expense account. So instead of that first line being 5,053, they want it to be listed out what employees made. You know, Joe made $1,000, you know, and on down the line to get to the 5,053. Our software does not do that, first of all. And second of all, I think it's a gross overreach on putting out too much information. I mean, I'm all for public disclosure, but I also believe in not letting the whole world know our business. I think when you start putting out everything out on the web, that sets us up for problems.
Well, and you get into the trouble, you know, I've had many discussions about violating employees' personal information. That anybody now has access to every single person's financial, and that's not.
Yeah. I mean, if somebody walked off the street and wanted to know our salary detail, I mean, that's a public record. I just don't believe we should be doing that.
How do they get that? Like if somebody wanted to walk up and ask you what you made, how could they find that out?
I mean, that is a public record.
I know, but how do they find that out?
Well, they would report it.
They do what?
Submit a public records request.
Yeah. So I've had those before, not on salary specifically.
So what the House of Representatives is basically saying is if I want to know something, I'll be able to pull it up online like we do
Without
everything else
asking.
in the world without asking.
Yep.
But you know, Dave, even on the public record request, you can drag it out, so it's not
You
immediate.
can. You know, a lot of times it's not worth doing, I mean, worth fighting. So, I mean, it's just.
But this is not just about our salaries. This is about our budget and our general fund, everything we spend.
Page 5 of 7, that is one page of 9,540 lines.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it goes on.
They're creating a whole extra lot of work for us to probably have to hire two more employees to do it.
And, you know, even look at page 7 of 7, that's where you're comparing the budget to actual for the current year. You know, it does nothing to list. It's of no benefit to list how much we spent between July and December, because that's 50%. I think the mindset is, well, you should not have spent more than 50% of your budget. You know, we pay teachers from September to August, so I mean, it's not 50% of our expenses. I mean, we're gonna look great, you know, the first 6 months, because, you know, we probably spent about 37% of our, made up around the air. But, I mean, it's gonna look great. So, and then the second 6 months, we're gonna spend the other, you know, 63%. So it's just convoluted.
So what do we do about it?
Well, I have what my thoughts are on one of those pages, and then what to do is on another page.
So remind me about this. Act.
Well, I mean, it requires those pages that we just went over, 4, 5, 6, and 7 to be disclosed. And then page 3 of 7, I said what we can do, and that's just voice our concerns
When
with.
you say disclose, you mean putting it on our school website?
No,
Putting it on our.
It goes to the state, and the state pulls it all together and puts it out under Caldwell Parish School.
And you can type in Caldwell Parish and you can look at everything Caldwell Parish.
Correct.
Which brought up, I mean, he brought up something too, and Mike, you might think like this too, because I don't. But if you start putting out how much money everybody makes, then you could have these scammers come in and just target certain people who they think are going to be in certain ranges to be able to do, and that's just a lot of information.
And then, I mean, you mentioned Mike, I mean, it's gonna say, you know, to spend so much money with a specific computer carrier. Well, if they wanna get in, they're gonna already know who our computer carrier is.
Exactly.
I mean, it's done.
Don't you already send most of that information in when you get audited every year?
Yeah.
Is that audit that you send?
And that's the other side of it, is we have an audit, we have the second part of that is agreed upon procedures that the legislative auditor implemented. And supposedly, we're going to end up with more agreed upon procedures based on Act 37, because the Treasury wants to push more into it. So, I mean.
You should be giving out personal information. I worked in about too many years, you don't give out personal information.
So anyway, you know, a legislator person voice your disapproval. I certainly will be writing a letter to our city guys.
So David's going to do what he feels is correct and submit there. We might get in trouble, but we're willing to take that.
And we will swing with all the other business managers.
Yes.
So, that I've talked to, I've talked to Franklin.
They're all doing the same
Yeah,
thing?
yeah, sorry.
They're all like kind
Yeah.
of using
Yeah,
it?
I mean, because they're all the same, we all have the same software, so I mean, we cannot report.
Something you don't have.
Right, and one of the business managers said today, she finally got an email from the state saying, we're gonna give you this one-time exemption on not disclosing salaries. So, we'll see where that goes.
Mr. President, I'm trying to get Maria out of this meeting, so can we kind of speed it
No,
up?
it's okay. It's not like it's a very close call.
I thought you said you don't care how long you
No, but I'm trying to, because I know Maria's not gonna say nothing, so I'm.
Somebody else in that seat.
Matter of fact, she just texted, she said, "Can you say something about
I'm good.
Maybe she clarified that Gina and Caldwell are playing again like that.
But my child is playing it.
Bless her heart, she's trying to say a child.
I'm done.
All right, District Leader.
Did y'all get a new one? Very sure.
Thank you, Maria.
All right. Go Spartans. Go Spartans.
She's gonna start swinging a little bit.
All right, superintendent.
Oh, superintendent? Okay. Superintendent report.
All right, now I'm just gonna tell you, we went to, the district band festival today for concert season, and they scored all ones, which means all three judges gave them superior ratings and their sight reading, and that has not happened in years.
This is Mr. Hollingsworth.
No. I was Mr. Iska, we were Mr. Iska, yeah, we did.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
okay. Hollingsworth was there
Yeah.
before.
Yeah, but, that was a huge accomplishment. They were so excited, the kids were, Mr. Lee, it's just phenomenal what he's been able to do and the talent that he is bringing up. Yes, so kudos to our band. Want to let you know that on April the 8th, we are having that finance committee meeting at noon here. And then, I'd like to talk with y'all about maybe scheduling a board retreat on Saturday, April the 26th. From 8 to 12 o'clock for us to go through and do the Clifton Strengths and then talk about some of the initiatives that we have going on, and just figure that's the first Saturday where there's no baseball or softball game going on. And I know night times 4 hours is a long time, so if y'all want to check your calendars and let us know. April 26th. Last time we did it at the Methodist Church, so we can see if that, and Randy said he'd cook.
Yeah, I'll cook.
That's all I have.
Maria makes a motion to do that.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Oh, come on.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Have a second on that?